Good evening, everyone, and I'd like to specially welcome you for another episode of Stories. And so this is one episode of Stories we've had back and forth with as touching the time of recording. And finally, I'm here with the foremost Coach D. All right, so, but before we get into the story, I'd like for you to please sit tight because some of the things we'll be hearing today might be such that will make your heart race. I like to give that, counsel in advance. And I like you, just to reiterate again what the purpose of this platform is for. And I've said this often that not everyone gets to have the luxury of telling their own stories by themselves in their lifetime. So when we have this opportunity, we hold it, so dear to our heart, and we're so privileged and excited to have you here today.
Thank you, sir.
So, for those of you who particularly might find yourself in the kind of situation that she is about to describe, I know a glimpse of it. One of the things that will occur to you is that there is a God who can help and heal from any point that you are in life, and you want to learn wisdom and how to cope with that situation. And as always, I allow my guests to start their stories from the most convenient standpoint. Well, let me greet you first. Good evening, Coach D.
Good evening, Apostle.
Finally. How do you feel sharing your story today?
I feel grateful to God because it's something I prayed for throughout. There were days that I thought I would die.
What?
And I would say, God, please don't let me die here. Let me live to tell my story.
Really?
And that I'm here is an answer to many, many years of prayer.
Wow.
I remember the first time I met a female pastor, and she said she was led to pray for me that I would not be murdered on the altar of ministry.
What?
And I added that to my prayer. So those were two prayers I was praying for many years. Lord, please don't let me die here. Let me live to tell my story. And don't let me be murdered on the altar of ministry.
Wow.
I would say Jesus Christ already died. I don't need to die. And that I'm here is a testimony to the faithfulness of God.
Wow.
It's also a testimony to the fact that there's healing on the other side of trauma. Yeah. That's my hashtag. Yeah. Because I recently started an Instagram page, No More Abuse. And my hashtag is there's healing on the other side of trauma. Because I have been through trauma and I'm here standing healed.
Wow.
I got married to a pastor. I'm a former pastor's wife. And I'm not the only pastor's wife who's been through trauma. There are many others. Some I've met, some I haven't met, some I've heard their stories. But amen. I'm a former pastor's wife, and we married as believers. We didn't marry as unbelievers. I was raised Muslim. And as a Muslim, I had a divine encounter that changed my life totally. And even throughout my marriage, every time I wanted to quit, God would bring that picture back to me and say, just hold on, just wait. In the fullness of time. My marriage was very toxic, very abusive. I know some people will be listening to me and say, no, that cannot be. Because to the world, my husband was the epitome of humility. My husband was the epitome of, he was, some people actually called him the perfect gentleman. But at home, to me and my children, he was a monster.
That's a big word.
It is a big word. And I use it with intention because that's what he was. He was a monster to us. Regrettably, I didn't say anything. And I carried myself as if everything was okay. I wore my wedding ring with pride in quotes. But nobody knew what I was going through except for my children.
Just before we get into this, was it like that from the beginning or it got bad somewhere along the line?
The very first letter he wrote me, because I met him when he was doing his master's, the very first letter he wrote me, He said, I need you to, it was an instruction. I need you to go study Proverbs 31. But at the time, I didn't know that what he was telling me was that I need you to be a slave wife.
Yes, no.
So,
for the sake of the people,
okay.
just some clarity. That letter, was it written to you while you both were singles or while you were married?
While we were single. That was the first
So he said he needed you to go study Proverbs 31.
31. So
you feel the Proverbs 31 woman is a slave?
Well, now I do. Not that she was a slave, but she did everything. She was the wife, the cook, the cleaner, the everything. So that was the message. But at the time, I didn't know. I thought it was very spiritual. Oh, because, we all want to be like the Proverbs 31 woman. So I thought he was being very spiritual. And I diligently studied the Proverbs 31 woman, wanting to be like her. Forgetting that this woman had, she had people around her helping her.
Yeah.
So from the very beginning, he knew what he was looking for, but I didn't know. Anyway, we courted for about a year. It was very, I used to think it was very quiet, very humble. He had no friends, which was a red flag that I didn't recognize at the time. So there was no accountability partner, nobody I could talk to, report him to. We got married, and from the very beginning, he was not able to stand up to his family. He never, not once during the marriage did he stand up for me. On the day of the wedding, two things happened that, should have set me thinking, but I just, glossed over them. We had agreed that we wouldn't dance to the worldly band that his mom had hired, and that his family wouldn't pour water on my feet. Those were two things we agreed on. We got to the house. My husband disappeared. I couldn't find him. And they wanted to pour water on my feet. I said, no, this isn't what we agreed on. And I kept saying...
Pour water on your feet like Jesus did the disciples.
No, in Yoruba tradition, when a new wife comes, they pour water on her feet. And we had talked about it. And he said, no, we won't do that. We are Christians. And we agreed that we wouldn't do that.
Okay.
But when we got to the house, he disappeared. And I kept saying, where's my husband? By the time after the wedding, at night.
The night of your wedding.
The night of the wedding.
You went to his family house?
To his family house, yes.
Okay.
So finally, they found him and he came out and said, oh, don't worry, let's just pray. We'll be praying in tongues. Let them pour the water. I said, okay. So, And then the second thing, we were supposed to not dance. I was invited to dance, and I had to fight that battle by myself. I said, no, again, he was nowhere to be found. Anyway, we went on our honeymoon, we came back, and, life happened. But my ordeal began 3 weeks after the wedding. Apostle, 3 weeks. He said I said something. I have no idea. I can't remember now what he said. But he gave me a thorough dressing down. Abused me. Abused my mother. Said my mother did not train me well. I was a useless girl. All kinds of names. And then he stormed out of the house. 3 weeks. And I'm there. Bride of 3 weeks. What did I do? What could have gone wrong? So he was gone all day. And then he came back in the evening and said he was sorry. Meanwhile, I stayed home. I cried all day. I prayed. And he came back and said he was sorry. But the pattern continued. That was day one. Down the road, it didn't change. He would insult me, disrespect me, call my siblings' name. His favorite name for me was Ashewu.
Judging by what that means.
Yeah.
He called you that repeatedly?
Yes. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. That was his favorite name for me.
Probably for those who probably don't understand the Nigerian English, that's the word you use for a prostitute.
Yes. It would.
Yeah.
And anyway, I'll get to that. He would call me Ashewu. Even when the children came, the name calling didn't stop.
In their presence?
Yes, in the presence of my children grow up seeing all of that. But you see, God is faithful. And God rescued me. I must give God all the glory. God was the one that rescued me. It got to a point, my children came to me. At that time, they didn't speak Yoruba. They were very young. And they said, they asked me what the meaning of Ashewo was. And I said, it means prostitute. And they were like, why? Why is he calling you prostitute? I said, because it wasn't my first boyfriend. He wasn't the one that deflowered me.
Was that his reason?
Yes, that was his reason. Because he said that I had slept around and this isn't something that was hidden from him. I told him before we got married that this is my life story. This is my journey. This is how I came to know Christ and everything. And he said, oh, fine. I like your honesty.
So he weaponized
I love you.
it.
Yeah, so he now started to weaponize that
was
against
he
me.
Virgin?
That was my youngest child's question at the time. She said, was he a virgin when he married you? I said, no. He said, then why is he calling you that? I said, that's something you need to ask him. But he didn't stop. And then, we started having children. The rage, he would just fly into a rage. But I couldn't tell anybody, particularly because I'm from a Muslim family. And I was too ashamed to go back home and say, this is what my husband is doing to me. Particularly because my parents had warned me about me being brainwashed and just following my husband sheepishly. I needed to be careful.
Right.
And unfortunately, I told him, and I thought that was enough reason for him to even be kinder to me. But no, he wasn't. Anyway.
Maybe just a bit of pause, just to get clarity. When you got married,
yes,
your parents were still Muslims.
Yes, they were still Muslims.
Which means most of your relatives were still Muslim.
Some of them are still Muslims as we speak.
At the point you got married, was he a pastor at that point?
No, he was not a pastor.
At what point in this marriage did he become a pastor?
He became a pastor more than 20 years after we got married.
Oh, more than 20 years after you got married. Yes. But you both were Christians.
No, more than 10 years. We were both Christians.
Oh, more than 10 years after
More than 10
you
years
got
after
married.
we got married, yeah.
So, you now converted from Islam.
Yes, I converted from Islam
to Christianity.
Yes, before I met my husband.
Before you met him.
2 years before I met him, I was saved. Yes.
So meaning that before you met him, you had a family that, of course, will be hostile towards you because of change in your worship.
Right. I actually went through persecution, a very difficult one, but
to deal with.
Yes.
And now you're marrying a Christian.
Yes.
And now in that marriage, there's abuse. There was abuse.
A lot of it.
And you couldn't go back.
No.
To your family of other faith.
No.
To tell them what you were facing.
No, I couldn't.
Because they will mock you.
Yes. And particularly because they had told me that this man is not reliable. We don't see him as a reliable
Which means
person.
for most part of this marriage, it was a lonely road that you couldn't go back home to tell them.
There was nobody
things.
to talk to.
Okay.
Nobody to tell.
All right.
Not even friends. And even in church, when I would tell some of the older women, that's how men are. You just have to endure, fast and pray.
That's how men are. In what context?
That men are unkind, generally unkind. Men are abusive. And it was difficult for me because I'm coming from a Muslim background. Even in the Muslim background, I know men who are gentlemen and don't abuse their wives. So why, as a Christian, am I facing this? And these were questions I had for God. A lot of times I, didn't get an answer, but God will show me that revelation that brought me to him and say, stay the course. So I stayed. And in my heart, I was building my home. The wise woman built her home. These are some of the scriptures that my husband quoted for me all the time. He would threaten me with divorce. He would threaten to go report to my parents that, I wasn't a good girl. And who wants their parents' hearts to be broken? I didn't want my parents to, So he ruled me with fear. For him, it was control and power. I came looking for connection. I came looking for peace. But he wanted control. He wanted power. He wanted to control who I spoke to. If I went out and I was late in coming back, I had to explain where I had been. I remember one time I was in traffic with a friend, a neighbor in our neighborhood, and we were in traffic till like late. I came back. He accused me of stopping to sleep with some man somewhere from the very beginning.
So throughout this marriage, there were suspicions.
Yes.
Always. He never stopped.
He never stopped. I worked in a law firm in Nigeria, and I went to Abeokuta with my boss once. Until tomorrow, he tells me that the man took me to Abeokuta to sleep with me.
Oh, wow.
And no explanation. Nothing I did was good enough. It was always complaining. But I couldn't tell my parents. I couldn't tell my siblings. I couldn't tell them that he was very unkind to me. When the children came, I stopped working. One day he just quit his job. He said God told him to start a law firm. Well, we started the law firm. And no briefs were coming. I ended up becoming the breadwinner. I was making cakes. At a point, I became a butcher. I was selling cows. I had a guy who would go buy the cow, kill it, would sell it.
You sold meat?
Yes.
You sold meat?
Yes.
You?
Yes.
What?
Because I was raised by a mother who was very generous. My mom was extremely generous, even though she was a Muslim until the last week of her life. So from very young age, I learned to be generous. So for me, what I was doing was just being generous, giving to my husband, supporting my husband.
In the days you were the breadwinner in the house, did the abuse stop?
Oh, no. It didn't stop. Because then he would say things like, is it because you're the one bringing in the money that I can't talk? So he trained me to not speak. He silenced me. I've had a sermon on narcissism, and one of the things that was said is that the narcissist is very calculating. They train you to not speak. So I was trained to not speak. I became silent in my own marriage. And of course, he wouldn't do it when people were there. To the world, we were the perfect couple. In fact, 2 people have told me that they're surprised our marriage broke because we were their example. And I said, well, unfortunately, you only saw the parts that we presented to you. You didn't know the reality, but this is my reality, that my marriage was toxic, was abusive, extremely so. Not just the name calling. In 2001 was when we relocated to America. My husband promised heaven on earth. He's one that will promise heaven and deliver a nightmare throughout. And I had no one to talk to, but that's when I learned to pray. And I would, my favorite song was, my eyes have seen, my ears have heard, the words of my mouth shall be praising the Lord. And I would say, Lord, one day I would tell my story. I have to tell my story. And I would have the assurance that I would tell
Just before we go deeper.
Yes, sir.
And because of my experience also listening to stories, hearing stories and feedbacks, maybe there might be some. Now, this question is not in a way to justify what you've gone through. But did you at some point maybe feel or felt that maybe were there things that you felt you did that also contributed to the abuse?
Even if I didn't do anything,
Were there mistakes from you?
Nobody is perfect.
Yes, definitely.
Right? Nobody is perfect. So maybe I would say something out of turn that would offend him, but he would capitalize on that and use it more. So if I said, what is it? He would say, I'm rude, I'm disrespectful.
So you've described plenty of verbal abuse, emotional abuse. Was there physical abuse also?
There was. One time we were going to church. It was a Wednesday. And we were driving to church. It had snowed all day. We lived in a city where, it snows a lot. It had snowed all day.
As pastors?
Yes, as pastors.
Okay.
We were going to church.
Yeah.
And then he turned around and slapped me and said, you disrespected me in the afternoon. And I said, what? So I quickly opened the door. I wanted to jump out. Unfortunately for me, my trench coat got caught in the door.
Oh.
And anyway, I got out of the vehicle and left my coat. Somehow my coat fell, but he drove off.
Leaving you in the snow?
And left me on the road, yes.
On the road. So
yes.
Without your coat, it means you were exposed to the cold.
I only had my
But just the both of you in the car that day?
Just both of us in the car.
Who preached that day?
I don't know. Because I was not in church, but I believe he preached. I mean, for him, that's no big deal. He would give me a thorough dressing down on a Sunday morning, abuse me, send me to my parents, and then get on the pulpit and preach on Sunday. Many times we would have services, revival services, and he'll be leading prayer points. I'm in church and I'm crying, Lord, deliver me. Anybody seeing me would think I'm praying the prayer points. But my prayer point was, Lord, deliver me. How you would do it, I don't know. How you would do it, I don't know. And, it's calling the prayer point, I'm praying my own. At a point, when we first started the church, he said he had a dream that the church was not growing because of the way he was treating me.
He saw it?
Yes, he had a dream. He told me.
So you both were founders of the church?
Kind of.
Associate pastors in the church?
Yeah, he was the head pastor. I was just
okay, you guys started the branch of a already established church.
Already established church, yes.
Okay.
So, and I would remind him every time that you said God told you that the way you are treating me is why the church is not growing. But yet you're still treating me this way. You're still abusing me. By the time we got to, the stress was so much, and the impact on me, which is one thing I want to, educate people on. I started a series on abuse recently and talking about the impact of abuse on the victim. I lost myself. I lost my self-esteem. Because my husband would tell me, what it is to be respected? You cannot respect Larry. And I'll look at myself and say, I'm from a good family. I was well brought up. What is it? What have I done? I'll ask him sometimes, what did I do to you? The only time I enjoyed you was during courtship. And all we did then was we'll go to church, go and pray, From the beginning, we didn't have family altar. He would tell me, go and pray your own. And pray your own. I don't do. He would tell me he regretted marrying me. He would say, and sometimes if I come back from the store and I say, good afternoon, he won't respond. What did I do again? What didn't you do? I will start again. Fly into a rage. He would bang the wall, bang the table. So I lived in fear. I lost myself. I started to lose my memory. I started to underperform at work. I started to have panic attacks. My blood sugars became escalated, and I was being treated for diabetes. And my husband was the first to tell everybody that I was diabetic. People thought that I was, terminally ill. People would call and say, what's wrong with it? There's nothing wrong with that. It's just diabetes. It's not just diabetes. I didn't know at the time that it was all the stress that kept my cortisol levels high, and everything started to happen. I would go out and I want to go to the store and I forget where I'm going. I'll be on the highway before recognizing that I had missed my way. I would go for a walk and just walk. Just get lost, I'll get lost and then I'll be like, where am I? And start tracing my way back home. But in all of this, he didn't care. Like I said, we lived in a city where we had a lot of snow. I was left to plow the snow. My husband would just be in the house. Come and help me clear snow. No, but I had to clear the snow because I'm going to work. I had to work 2 jobs at a point because he refused to work. He said he was called to ministry. We were suffering. My children were suffering. No food.
Was the ministry paying the bills?
No, not initially.
Not initially?
No. I had to work 2 jobs. Even when the ministry was paying, it still wasn't enough. But anyway, we kept managing. We got to 2019. And before that, he was accusing me of sleeping with a pastor in town. And he was telling everybody. He would go to this person and say, she's a prostitute, she's sleeping around. I'm not sleeping with anybody. Since the day I said I do, no man has seen my cleavage, talk less of sleep with me. That no. Triangulation. He would invite people into the marriage, turn them against me. I lost relationships. I didn't know why. Some members of church would be disrespectful to me. I would later find out that my husband was talking to them about me. And I'd be like, God, what is all this? So he was accusing me of sleeping with another pastor in town. And he was telling everybody that, he caught me red-handed. I'll say, when, how, where? He won't be able to say. So in 2019, something happened in church that the church almost got emptied. People were going to leave the church. Anyway, we resolved the issue. And because of that stress, I became very sick. Very, very sick. I remember going to London and passing out. Thank God my daughter was with me. And she just heard a thud in the shower. And she said she thought it was maybe the body wash that had fallen. But when I didn't come out, she now came in and saw me.
You slumped?
In the bath. And she screamed, and somehow they revived me. And the doctors came to check me. When I came back to the United States, for him to take me to the hospital was a problem. But luckily, my daughter was able to take me. The day he left me on the road, he was gone to Bible study for 1 hour. I had to call my children to come pick me up on the road. I was shaking. I was so traumatized. I didn't know that I could survive. So I think the first time I left was in 2018. I said, I'm done. Because that day he said he was going to beat the living daylight out of me. I said, before you beat me, let me just go. So I left the house. And I remember sleeping in a hotel. He called my sister. My sister called me, spoke to me and said I should go back. So I went back. It got worse. I left a second time in 2020. No, in 2019 was when the incident happened. 2020, I left again. And I said, I'm not going back this time. We have some friends who are pastors. They called me, spoke to me and said I should come back. So they came to the house with us. They came to visit us at home. And the pastor said both of us and him should go to the church. So we went to the church. And he took us to the altar and said, let's bury everything here tonight. And we prayed and he said, oh yes, we buried. The moment they left.
Yeah. You bury what?
Bury everything.
No counseling, no healing?
No, he counseled us, and said, okay.
Were you able to open up about the things you were going through?
Oh yes, I did.
Did he acknowledge the things you were doing?
No, he would deny. And if you ask him today, he would say he didn't do anything to me. That I just left the house. Yeah.
So you buried it there?
So we allegedly buried it. The moment the pastor and the wife left, he started again. And he'll say, well, you went to report me. I will deal with you. So I was afraid. My fear was, Lord, don't let him kill me. Where will I go? One day, one of my children said to me, Mom, you need to start saving money. So that was when I started saving money. A woman of God came from Nigeria for a program and it cost $250. I could not afford $250.
$250.
And I remember her saying that if as a woman you don't have $250, it's a disgrace to us as women. That was the day I decided that I will have.
People kind of get quite emotional when such statements are uttered. And particularly because, permit me to use the word, people are raised in the midst of different kind of dysfunction. And some of which have also colored and affected perspectives. I really think a woman should have her own money.
I agree.
I think it's important. It's security.
It is.
I think if I will be very direct, I would say that sometimes it eliminates rubbish.
I would agree, sir. I would agree. And this is where
But why couldn't you afford $250? Were you not working?
I was working. Two jobs, sir.
What then happened to your money?
It was in joint account, and we were using the money to pay the bills. My parents were also bankrolling us from Nigeria.
Meaning that they were doing well.
Yeah. My parents were bankrolling us from Nigeria.
You saw the red flags.
I didn't know there were red flags at the time.
You saw the abuse.
I saw the abuse.
Before you moved from Nigeria.
Yes.
To the United States.
Yes.
Then you moved from Nigeria.
And I continued in the
to
abuse.
the United States.
Yes.
Not just the abuse. You agreed to have money in joint account.
Yes.
Why?
Because I was a woman building her home, in my own opinion.
The way you speak about building your home, you seem to regret everything every time you spend waiting.
Not anymore. I don't have regrets. And that's something I'm going to get to. Because God walked me through forgiving him. God said, in fact,
Before we get to the area of forgiveness, I want to ask you quite a personal question. If you say you don't have regret, do you feel your children don't have? Because for every time you stayed there, do you feel it would have been better for you to have left earlier, or for you to have waited the length of time you waited and they grew up seeing dysfunction?
Well, maybe I don't regret staying because I've learned who I don't want to be.
I'm talking about
my children, and I have talked about this.
Yes.
And one of their questions was, why did you stay so long?
And that's the question I'm asking.
Yes. And I said, well, I did what I thought was best. My children have been impacted. We are all going through therapy. I've been through therapy twice. They've had to deal with their own situations, but the mercy of God has prevailed even through all of this. Now that I know what I know, because I left after 33.5, and I didn't even want to leave, Apostle. God pulled me out and said, remember Lot's wife. Because at a point I was thinking, maybe I should go back, My children said, Mommy, please don't go back. We want you alive. We don't want you to die. Because at the time I left, my BP was almost 200/150. And my doctor said...
200 over what?
Yes, almost 200/150.
Oh, we're talking about 190 plus.
Yes.
And you were alive.
That's the faithfulness of God.
Added to the high hyperglycemia, high sugar level.
Yes.
Okay. That's messy.
Yes, I know. It's messy. It's really messy. Because people whose situations were not as bad as mine are not alive.
Definitely.
Or they've had a stroke or something.
There's a pattern. I probably just observe, dwelling on your story. There seems to be some sort of excitement about you not being healthy from the other party.
That's an understatement.
Was there a desire for you to die?
I think there was. Because there were other women.
Oh, no.
Yeah. I mean, maybe that's a story for another day. There were other women. He actually admitted,
Publicly?
To a friend of mine.
Okay. So for the sake of, maybe I just want this conversation to focus about you, your journey, and what you went through and how you survived it. So we'll leave that.
How I survived it?
No, there's a question I want to ask. That marriage lasted how many years?
33.5 before I was delivered.
You were in the midst of this for 33 and a half years.
Yes, sir.
Meaning that at some point in the course of the marriage, your children also got married?
One of them did, yes. So I'm a grandma.
Male or female?
My daughter.
Oh, no. You were facing an abuse. And your daughter was getting married. So she was moving from our observation of what you were going through to start a home. Did that affect her?
By the grace of God, no.
Not.
And that's why I keep saying that the faithfulness of God in all of this
Yes.
cannot be overemphasized. That we
you
were
know why I'm
broken.
asking this question? We are going to talk about the faithfulness of God, which is, I don't want to say it's the Christian cliche conversation. I'm a pastor, so I cannot trivialize grace. Well, I just want to deal with fact in the sense that I'm sorry I'm waiting on this conversation because I know at some point she's going to be watching this. You seem so confident that the length of time you spend waiting did not have so much effect on them.
No, I didn't say it didn't.
Okay, it did.
I said we all had to deal with it in our different ways, therapy-wise. But I thank God that my children know the Lord.
Yeah.
And I believe that's what made the difference.
They were all born again.
Born again. My son.
Some of the tendencies around cases like this is that they may hate the God they see their parents serving, particularly if they have to go through this.
Right. But this is where prayer helped me. I raised my children on my knees. I raised them by myself.
Correct.
And I raised them on my knees because I had nobody to help me raise them. To the world, we were the perfect family, but there were days when my children didn't have food to eat. How do you explain to a child that you are in ministry and because of ministry, they're suffering?
In Nigeria or outside Nigeria?
In America. In Nigeria, things were easier because my business was good. I was making cakes. I was making a lot of money. So things were okay, not good. Don't let me say perfect. But in the US, particularly when he decided that he wasn't going to work at all.
Yeah.
Things were terrible. Even in Nigeria, before God because the cake business I did was given to me by God. God said, start making cakes, and he prospered.
Maybe another question I might ask, just for clarity. Who came to the US first?
We all came at the same time.
So there was no dependent?
Mm-mm.
Both of you had access to work?
Yes. Initially, he did contract jobs, but when he was called to start the church, he would just quit a job and say, I need to be full-time pastor. God has called me to be full-time. And we would start over.
Who were you accountable to as a family?
Nobody.
In the days
Even the people that I was accountable to, he made sure he cut them off, very calculating. He would say, oh, this person, I had a vision that they have witchcraft. Stay away from them.
You had people that you were accountable to.
Initially, I did.
That loved you before you got married.
Right.
And you had to cut off from all of them.
Pretty much. Because he was systematically cutting off my support system, and I didn't know it. I didn't know about narcissistic tendencies until a friend of mine said, have you heard of narcissism? I said, no. And she said, go and study it. And I've been researching and studying it for the last 5-6 years.
It's quite a deep reality.
It is terrible. Unfortunately, it's a veritable epidemic in the church right now.
Yeah.
Everywhere I turn, I've turned in the last 5, and that's why I do what I do. That's why I help women to heal. Because you can truly heal from these things. Honestly, you can with the help of God. Everywhere I turn, Apostle, I meet at least one woman out of 3-5.
What do you think the problem is really? Is it the way these men are raised? What do you think the issue
The way the men are raised, we spoil our men. We teach our daughters to be good wives.
Yes.
We teach them to serve their brothers. And sometimes the men are the golden child. You can't touch them. You can't, like mine was a golden child. So it gets into their head. He had this sense of grandiosity. This is how my husband worked. Or he would walk with his hands behind him.
Yeah. It's the delusion of grandeur.
Yes. Very, anybody comes to the house, the moment they leave, he runs them down.
It runs who down?
People that come to visit us, once they leave, he runs them down because of that sense of grandiosity. Nobody's as good as him, not his wife, not his children. We can't tell him what he's doing is wrong. I remember one time, one of my children said to me, "Daddy, what you're doing is not good. How you are treating mommy is not good." Says, "Amy, you are talking to like that." And he flicked his finger at her and said, "You will see. You don't cross him. He doesn't forgive a slight."
Sometimes every time I've had this conversation, we talk about the effect of marrying a narcissist on the both partners, either of the partners.
Right.
I'm yet to have a conversation where we really look at the effect of having a narcissist as a father. or as either of the parents there. Because there is permit me to use the word, the African construct, where children are raised not to ask questions.
Right.
Not to tender their sincere, also humble opinion. Not to speak up.
Not to be seen and not heard.
Yes. That's if you are even seen. Mm-hmm. Just exist. Mm-hmm. That's the culture. Mm-hmm. I'd like for you to say something to that.
The impact on the children is huge. I have a few women that I'm working who have children, little children, damaged. And when I think of the impact on my children, if it had not been God, my children would not be where they are.
There was a case a few weeks ago in Nigeria. A man was maltreating the wife, so she escaped with her child. And he begged and invited her to come back so they could talk. Came back, they had conversation. Then he went inside and picked a rope. And right in the presence of the child, strangled the woman to death. I have raised against the culture on ground. And I've been called names for it, and I really don't mind. Because the culture is that a woman is only judged as virtuous if she stays in the midst of abuse.
Right.
And when women have to leave and walk away from that, they are even not fit for any position in church.
Correct.
They are not considered for ordinations, even when they are the victim.
Right.
You've dealt with many of these people, and because I still want you to get into the issue of the grandiosity around the way our men are raised, and you are experienced. I mean, I've been on your YouTube platform. I've seen the things you're doing. You've been able to walk out of this fire. Speak to the way men are supposed to be raised, particularly now that things are the way they are.
Apostle, I think is beyond just raising them. I think is instilling in them the fear of God. A man that has no fear of God will abuse his wife and children.
Yeah, true.
2 Timothy chapter 3, 1-5 talks about what to expect in the end times, and abuse is there.
Yeah.
A man, or even because abuse has no color, abuse has no gender. It could be either way. No, it could be either way.
Yeah.
I mean, when I was in therapy, I met a woman. She's been in it 40 years. She's lost her mind.
She's been inside the abuse 40
years.
Yeah.
And my question to her was, what are you still doing there 40 years? She said, what am I going to do? My pay is only 25,000 a year. Where am I going to go? And that's why I'm praying that God will give Norma money. And I want to open a home for women like that to find a refuge. Because when a man does not...
You want to open the home in Nigeria or in America?
In both.
Okay.
Both. Okay. Yeah, we want to come and open a home in Nigeria. We're trying to work on it.
Okay.
But also in America. I remember I was at a women's program. I was speaking there. And something about, if you won $1 million, what will you do? I said, I already know what I want to do with it. I was still even in my marriage at the time. I said, I want to open a home for women in abuse. And I'm believing God. Because whether it's a man or a woman that's the abuser, the problem is they do not have the fear of God. You cannot say you love God and insult somebody else. It's not possible. You know, one time when I was asking God why my husband was like this, God said, the problem is that the flesh is Lord in his life. Mm-hmm. So if we raise them right and we don't teach them to fear God, we'll still have the same result.
Yeah. So
it goes back to our men need to know what it means to fear God. I have a video on my channel. Why are the fathers silent? And the fathers in the church are not saying anything. When I left, for example, I told my husband I was going to training. I had a training in Texas. And that one was a whole drama, you know. That morning, I remember it was yelling at me. Anyway, I just left him alone. Most of the time, I just look at him and be like, well. So in the evening, I told him that this is what I'm doing. I'm going to my head office for a couple of days to meet with my superiors, and then I'll go to, you know, my training. And then he went on a mission trip. When he came back, he told everybody that cared to listen that I just left the house. He didn't know where I was. And that he was calling me and texting. At that time, I was very sick. I couldn't even take anybody's call. I was very sick. Those were one of the times I thought, you know, and I kept saying, God, don't let me die. I must live to tell my story. He's been all over the place. You know, he told my adopted sister that, you know, she's a prostitute. I said, from where to where? So he went on a smear campaign. And meanwhile, in the marriage, he would always say, meaning, by the time I'm done smearing your name, nobody will buy you for a penny. And I'll say, what did I do to you? I've had 3 children for you. The second one, I was in labor for 2 weeks. What did I do?
2 weeks?
Yes, 2 weeks. And what did I do? Can't you even, because of that, have mercy on me? Show me kindness. A pastor came to our house from Nigeria, knelt down and begged him. What did this woman do? Whatever she has done, forgive her. He said, no, she didn't do anything. It's okay.
Could it be that he wasn't attracted to you? Anyways, that's not also a basis.
We married by revelation.
By what?
By revelation.
How do you mean?
He had a dream. He saw me and the children we were going to have. And God showed him where he would meet me. But if you ask him today, he will say it's the devil that showed him the dream. That God told him it's Hosea, I should go and marry a prostitute. That was a prostitute. He went as far as telling my friend's husband in London that I'm a prostitute. That one went to the pastor and told them that his wife is friends with a prostitute. So my name is everywhere that I'm not a virtuous woman. He wrote, anyway, he went on a smear campaign. He called my father in the Lord and said, Daddy, Dapo has left. I don't know where she is. He knew I was with my sister. And he told my father in the Lord that I was having an affair with another pastor. Now he's forgotten the other pastor he said I was sleeping with, that he's told everybody. And my father in the Lord said, okay, let me talk to her. He called me, said, I've spoken to the man. Your husband is saying you're sleeping with that. The man said, it's a lie. Anyway, the man is many miles from me. But everywhere, if I look to the side, we're driving together, and I look to the side, he will say, I was winking at the man in the other vehicle. So when we are driving together, this is how I sit. So that I'm not accused of looking at somebody else. If I'm not sitting like this, I'll be looking at my phone.
Would that be obsession? Anyway, it's part of narcissistic tendencies too.
Anyway, my father in the Lord said, go back. I said, Daddy, I'm not going back. Because he had now called my sister and said, I'm not going to look for her, blah, 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 blah. My sister refused to tell me the things he said because she was still hoping that, But she did tell me that he said he wasn't going to look for me, and it's been more than 2 years now. He's not looked for me. Told my father in the Lord all kinds of things. So I spoke to Daddy and I said, no, Daddy, I'm not going back. That this is what, blah, 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 blah. Said, I'm not cooking for him. I said, well, how would I cook for him? He said, I want to poison him. So let me just not put because if he gives himself poison, I'm the one that will be arrested. So I'll go and order food, put it in the fridge. There's food there. So my father in the Lord said he told him to go look for me and, appeal to me to come back. And instead of that, he wrote to the leadership all the way to the top and accused me. No, before he did that, he was sending text to the man, to the pastor that I was accused of sleeping with. Sending him texts, a man that commits adultery with another man's wife, all kinds of things. Sent him a video of a woman in polyandry. And the man now called me and said, Madam, what's going on? I said, what happened? He said, your husband has been sending me texts. At first, I thought his phone was hacked.
Oh, wow. And
I called him, he didn't pick up. So I said, this is my trouble. Everybody says I'm sleeping with everybody. So the man said that he's disappointed because we're all friends and everything. It was after that, he now wrote to the leadership. So it's documented that I was having an affair, blah, 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 that he was facing ministry, I was sleeping around. He copied the man, he copied the man's wife, he copied me.
He sent a mail.
Yes, he sent email. So I wasn't going to respond. God said I should respond. So I responded and I stated my case. This is what he has done to me for all these years and I'm not going back. Because by that time I decided that I'm done.
Did they try to invite the both of you?
No. The man too responded. In fact, he responded and he debunked everything my husband had said. Because my husband said I have not spoken to him in a long time. And the man stated the different times that they spoke. And my husband had called him, blah, 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 blah. They didn't invite us to speak, to discuss.
The church leadership never invited you both?
No.
To try to get into it?
No. One of them called me and said, there must be full reconciliation. Remember the church you are pastoring. I said, sir, if I'm your daughter, after that, he has not called
reconciliation on the basis of the church you pastor in, yes. Not on the basis of your experience. Okay. One question I want to ask is, in the course of these 33 and a half years of this marriage, did you have good times?
Oh, my husband can give you good times when he wants something.
Okay. Okay.
Typical nag.
Yeah.
He would love bomb you,
Do you have moments that you probably remember and just smile?
During courtship.
During courtship?
Yes. That's the only time I enjoyed my husband.
Not.
I told you, Pastor, my ordeal started 3 weeks after we got married. So there was nothing to enjoy. Although to the world, we were perfect. Because I lived a lie for those years. I pretended to the world that everything was okay when it wasn't. Even in church, there are days I would go to church and I would just be crying. I can't tell anybody in church because the pulpit does not have friends in the pew.
Yeah.
Nobody. Even the mother in Israel I had, she would say, let's fast, let's pray. Fasted.
And that's typical Nigerian. The gap between the pulpit and the pew is wide.
Very wide.
Were you also preaching in church?
After a while, I stopped preaching because I said to him, he will just come. You're on the schedule for this day. You are preaching. Yes, sir. And I'll preach. But after a while, I said that pulpit.
Did you also preach about marriage?
Oh, yeah, of course.
And use him as good example?
Of course. You don't do it when you get home, you're in trouble. You punish me with silence. emotional abuse, even financial abuse. Name the abuse. I suffered it.
Okay.
Sexual, everything. After some time, I said, I'm not preaching on this pulpit again. I said, this pulpit is desecrated. I said, we're lying to the people. You tell them you're praying for them, but you are not. You stand on the pulpit and lie. Say, hey, man, don't be saying I'm lying. I said, but you are lying. We're both lying to the people, pretending that everything is good. When you come here and sit me down, do you have 5 minutes? 5 minutes will turn into 2 hours. He's dressing me down. And I dare not stand up. I will sit down there. You know, there are many things that I cannot say because of our time. And some of the things are too gory to share. Some of the things abuse cannot be described. The scars are real, but they are not visible. But again, there's healing on the other side of trauma. So, you know, with all the letter and everything, I said, I'm not going back. And God said, remember Lot's wife. And that was when I knew that God had my back. I wanted to fight. He told somebody that I had been denying him sex. I wanted to talk. And God said, don't talk. Mm-hmm. My children said, don't talk, mommy. Just keep quiet. I said, why? And when God told me not to talk, he said, listen to your children. Keep quiet. When I tried to talk, the man insulted me so much. I said, Lord, I'm sorry. You said don't talk. This is my result. So I didn't say anything. And God said, give me 2 years. See what I'll do in 2 years. 2 years later, I'm telling my story. It's been 2 years.
Oh, it's been 2 years now.
2+ years, yes.
Since you finally walked away.
Yes, I walked away. And I said, I'm not going back. It's been 2 years. My dad died in the midst of... I'm glad my dad is no longer alive, because how do I tell him? Even when he was younger, I couldn't tell him. When my mom was alive, I couldn't tell her. He died last year. My husband was in Nigeria. He didn't come. He didn't commiserate with us. He didn't greet anybody. He didn't call anybody. But he texted my children and said they should support me. Typical knack. He's too big to... One day he went to Nigeria in, I think, 2009, and he gave my parents money. And he said my parents didn't call him. That was disrespectful. That's part of the grandiosity. So I said, you know, the younger ones called. They said, no. Meanwhile, you were in Nigeria, you didn't see your mom, you didn't see any of your siblings. It's only my parents you saw. He got angry. He was cursing my family for not coming. He went for his brother-in-law's funeral. He was cursing them. Me himself, he would curse me. Brain curses on me, abuse me, curse me.
Literal curses?
Literal curses. So he came back and he said he doesn't want to see my family. I said, that one, you can cut everybody off, but not my family. I said I will not agree. By that time, I had become a little rebellious myself. I would say no. I had started saying no to things. So I would be begging him. Lord, I thank you. In Nigeria, he'll wake up in the middle of the night and say, I want to go and meet sister so and so. I'll be begging him, crying. Don't go. Anyway, this night, I was on my knees again. This man is only 1 year older than me. But I gave him all the honor, all the respect. I said, okay, I'm sorry. Take it that I'm the one that disrespected you, not my parents. He said, he looked at me. This is how he said, I'm telling you, Apostle, who is your father? He came from long distance. I said, my father. My father. I said, this is the last time I'll beg you for anything. And that was the last time. From that day, I started to work on my freedom. In 2020, that was after I left and I said I wasn't coming back. I said he should write a letter of apology for abusing me for all these years. And he wrote it. I have the letter. He may have forgotten that he wrote that letter. I mean, he'll send me terrible texts. Anything to demean me. He will gaslight me. Say, I told you. And I'll start to think, did he tell me? Did he not tell me? I'll be confused. I was very foggy. I didn't gain clarity until after I walked away. I'll be foggy. But the day he insulted my dad, I mean, he's been insulting my dad, little, but the day he said, Tani, bye-bye. I said, the pastor that told him that that's beyond him, he doesn't talk to the pastor anymore.
Yeah, typical.
He'll keep malice. Weeks, months, he will not talk to me. We'll be in the same house. One day, after a while, I moved out of the room because he wouldn't let me sleep at night. He'll wake me up and say he wants to discuss the marriage relationship. He'll open Ephesians. Wife submits to your husband. I'll be looking at him. You know I'm going to work in the morning. He will abuse me through the night. And one time I had to drive 1 hour to work, 1 hour back. That night, I don't know what he was thinking. He abused me thoroughly. And then in the morning, I went to work. He drove all the way to come and meet me. He's come to apologize. What can I do? But at that time, I did not know that I was demeaning myself for another man's insecurity. And that's one thing I want to encourage women. Don't demean yourself because of another man's insecurity. You can't help a man who is insecure. Nothing you do can be good enough. Nothing I did was good enough. Nothing. I went through so much pain. I would cry into my pillow and he would say, so let me sleep, let me sleep. I don't know what. I cried so much, Apostle, my eyes became unequal. When you see a woman whose eyes are unequal, she's in an abusive situation. I didn't know that, but I found out through research. And then another nurse practitioner told me that she knows about unequal eyes. And I'll be asking him, this eye is smaller than this one. You see, you can't see it. Of course, he's not even looking. I cried so much, I had eye trouble. I would have PTSD.
Yeah.
Sometimes I'll slip into depression. I'll just be sad. One thing I'm grateful for is that God kept me from doing anything damaging to myself. I'll be wondering if I died, who would take care of my children? That's when they were still little. But here I am today. After everything, God said, about 6 months after I left, God said, it's time to arise out of the ashes. He said, go and start listening to a certain minister of God. Go and start listening to his music. And the day my healing...
Who is that? Call the name.
Johnson Oyeko.
Okay.
Yeah. When God said I should listen to Johnson, I said, I don't like his voice.
Okay.
God said, that's who I want you to listen to. I said, okay. But when I started listening to him, I understood why. He's a man who understands not just God, but he understands the depth of pain.
True.
And is able to communicate through his songs.
Yes.
So the day God was going to set me free, I locked myself in the room all day. And I just played to sing. I cried. And God said, enough. And I got up. And I started a completely new journey from that day. But God still said, don't talk. When we got to the 1 year mark, God said, tell this person. And I told that pastor, and the pastor said, I'm shocked because I told your husband that he's so harsh with you. And that, he needed to let his ego go and be a Christian. But he didn't listen. And he's gone round, even up till April, he's still calling people to tell them that, I left him.
Oh. The good thing is that God has helped you.
He has. He truly has.
I want you to share in a nutshell how you were able to move from trauma to the wholeness that you have now.
How I was able to move. Again, it was God. Music was the first thing that God introduced me to. I've always loved music. I remember even in college, I joined Kegites because of music. That was before I became born. And so I've always loved music. But God introduced me to music in a different way. He gave me a man who knows God, who understands God, and he had me listen to him. And then he started walking me through forgiveness. And he said to me, you can't help people until you forgive your husband. I said, but I don't want to. He said, I know. I know you don't want to. And God started with, I forgot the name of the woman. Said, you can't, that unforgiveness is like drinking poison and expecting the other person to die. And I said, okay, Lord, I don't want to die. He said, then you have to forgive. Because I had become a bitter woman, and bitterness will take you to hell. I said, Lord, I don't want to go to hell. It's one of the reasons I decided that I wasn't going back. Because I know that if I go back, it will get worse. And he's waiting for me to come back so he can say, I didn't ask you to come back. You walked away, you walked back. But every time I remember Lot's wife. And she looked back. She didn't even go back yet. She just looked back and became a pillar of salt. That was the end of her story. My children have begged me not to go back. But I went from trauma to wholeness just by walking step by step with God and following his instructions. No man is an island. I found community with Light Nation. I remember a statement my first day in mentorship. Don't ever forget why you left. And I have not forgotten. I also heard anticipate the next move. Like with what I'm doing, I'm anticipating the next move. The senior campaign is going to go to the next level. But honestly, it doesn't matter anymore. Because what matters is what God thinks of me. I remember God said, you are accepted in the beloved. Rahab is in the lineage of Jesus. She was a prostitute. You are not a prostitute. I said, okay, Lord. I mean, what you think about me is more important than what anybody else thinks or what anybody else says. So I learned to walk with God again. I learned to look up again. And God said you will laugh again. And God has given me reasons to laugh again. It hasn't been, I was telling somebody that healing is not linear. Still, sometimes I still have some low days, You have your ups and downs. But when you think of where you're coming from, and you know that you don't want to go back there, you pick yourself up and say, Lord, help me. Like yesterday night, we were praying, God help me. I said, God, you know that in all of this place, I'm the one that needs the most help. Because it takes help. It takes God's help to make it each day, each hour, each minute. When I think of the scars in my heart, my expectations that were dashed, the promises of heaven delivering nightmare. Apostle, I pawned my clothes, my jewelry for money, just to keep the family together. But what is my husband saying today? She doesn't do anything in the house. I'm the one that pays all the bills. I said, it's okay. This same man that did not work when I was there, he has gone to get a job now. He has a job now. I said, I wish you had done this 10 years ago. Things would have been different. My children would not have had to suffer the way they did because of ministry. Because that's the way they saw it then. They see, daddy's doing church, we don't have money. God will provide. And that was the song. So God has helped me. And he's been sending people to me one at a time to encourage them. I don't have much, but I give them what God gives me for them. I love on them because that's the one thing that a survivor needs is love, support. I love on them. I remember to tell them I love them. If that's not something that they've been told in their marriages, whether they're still in it or whether it has failed, I love on them because that's what God gave me as I was walking through my journey. God loved me every step of the way. There were days I would be like, God, I don't want to do this anymore. And he would say, I still love you. Even if you don't want to continue, I still love you. And then I would see the vision I saw when I came to Christ. He will show me again. It's like, remember where you're coming from. Remember your roots. Remember the persecution you went through with your parents. And that has kept me going every day.
Wow.
Every day. I've shared as much as I can. There's so many deep things that I cannot share because
we have to keep those ones aside.
Yeah.
Wow. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
This is as graphical as it can get already. And I think my joy is the fact that you're not telling this story from the point of pain. Mm-hmm. You are telling it from the point of healing and restoration, which we know is still progressive.
It is.
And I want to particularly thank God for you, how you've been able to convert your pain to purpose. Looking at how far God has brought you. These are not conventional stories. Our culture teaches us to die in silence. And you are good until you tell your story. Mm-hmm. And, so I want to really thank you for the courage.
Thank you, sir.
Of course, knowing fully well that stories like these erases dust. And I believe that, should I say the word, we both counted our costs before having this story. All right. And then, of course, the things that follows, but nobody can kill your story. It's yours.
My story is my story, and it's my reality.
Yes.
Nobody walked that journey with me. My children saw it. They walked their own part of it.
Yes.
Like I was telling you, when he flicked his finger at my daughter, she had an accident.
Yeah.
And her car was totaled.
My God.
From that day, I said, please leave me to fight my battle. Stay out of it.
Wow.
Until today, they stayed out of it.
Wow.
They have not said one word, bad or good, on the matter, because it is my battle.
Wow.
And like you said, I've chosen to turn my pain into purpose. When I started the Empowered Woman, I was still with him. And when God told me to start it, I didn't know where he was going to take it. I told him. He actually helped me to choose the name. But then he would turn around and say, I don't know how to translate that
even
one.
Interpret it. Don't bother.
So when I came out and God saw that I was lucid, he said, no, ma. I said, no. He told me what it is. No more abuse. I said, no, ma. He said, no more abuse.
Oh, wow. Yeah. That's how you got the name.
Yeah. It dropped it in my heart. No.
And we're putting the links to access all our platforms from Instagram to YouTube on the screen right now, so you can be able to follow. She has very insightful conversations on our platform, and I've gone there to follow most of them. I'd like to encourage you. We don't have so many people around the world speaking directly to issues of abuses. It is either people are trying to speak to what they have not experienced, one way or the other, and all that. So, hey, I'm recommending that platform. And maybe for the sake of keeping this conversation where it is now, thank you for sharing your stories with us today. I know it takes strength. Not just to have a story, but to tell it. Because the forces of your story tries to keep you from telling it.
Right.
So I want to thank you for the courage. And to everyone that works with you, your team, your coach D, so I know you have people behind the scene. I want to thank you again for this story. We have to keep it at this point today. And it is what it is, right? So, I personally don't like some reactions when stories are told. I say, people are going through abuse around us every now and then. We have family members going through abuse. Some of us are also joining them to abuse somebody because your brother is married to the person. we join them to talk down somebody else's wife. You are our brother's wife, so you are our wife. We do all those things to ourselves. I think we have to learn kindness.
Yes.
Men have to be kind. Women have to be kind. I've seen men who are going through abuse.
Oh, yes.
I've seen a woman slap the husband and, backhand and front hand. And then I'm saying she eat. The man was sick. I've seen many things. I've seen things happen. It's a two-way thing. It's not the one size fits all. So just want to thank God for you and for telling your stories, and to everyone who have learned one or two things and you want to cry out. Yes, you can cry out. And that's why I'm recommending that platform. And there's also another platform I like to recommend, and that's Safe Space. Safe Space. So we are putting the link also on the page right now for you to be able to follow Safe Space, and where you can be able to cry out. Sometimes you just want to cry out.
Yes. Yes.
And you don't want to cry in front of people who say, "Hey, hold you." Mm-hmm. Sometimes you just want to release those things that you're going through, So, hey, follow those platforms and invite someone to watch this story. You might not know, you might be saving someone from abuse today. Thank you so much, Coach D, for coming.
Thank you.
And I thank all our audience for watching this episode of Stories. Like, share, subscribe on this YouTube channel. And yes, more importantly, engage it so it can get across to as many people as possible across the world. Till we come your way again for another episode of Stories. Keep watching Stories. God bless you. Bye-bye.